My name is Cindy Liu, and you can just call me Cindy. And Chinese migrant queer activists in London are not inhabiting an ecology. They are constructing one. Through artistic practice, community organization, and embodied encounters with more than human world. This paper traces that construction and makes true arguments. It racialized queer ecology and it ecologized migration study. The communities I study occupies a position of what I call double otherness, within predominantly white LGBTQ plus space in Britain. Chinese queer migrants are racialized minorities within heteronormative Chinese diaspora communities. They are sexually deviant. Neither structures has rooms for them. This double exclusion is not incidental to my argument. It is conditions of possibility. This paper draws on interviews and participant observation with 5 Chinese queer and that will be better. Yeah.
So this paper.
Nope, not so.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, now it's fine. So this paper draws on interviews and participants' observation with 5 Chinese queer and feminism communities in London, conducted between 2023 and 2026. My position as a Chinese queer migrant who live in London makes me partial insider, close enough to assess the texture of this community, relative enough to analyze them. There's 3 frameworks anchor this paper. First, queer ecology. Mortimer Sanders and Erickson's queer ecology challenges both heteronormative constructions of nature and anthropocentrism, but the field remains largely white and Western. This paper introduced race and diaspora as structuring conditions, a move the field has not yet adequately made. The third is making kin. How is making kin refutes biological determinist and nationalist communitarism, and one's kin are made through practice of care, collaboration, and commitment across differences, including species difference. This paper shows what making kin looks like under conditions of state censorship, racial precarity, and immigration constraint. And third is transcorporeality. Almost transcorporeality insists that boundary between body and environment is fiction maintained by the logic of domination. The communities I studied distribute this logic not discursively but simultaneously, but by taking their bodies into forest and park and attending to what happened. I want to trace these ecologies through 3 moments. The first moment begins with crisis. The formations of Chinese migrants' queer community in London cannot be understood outside the compound crisis of COVID-19. The pandemic imposed physical isolation of precisely the moment anti-Asian racism once intensifies across British cities and the queer digital infrastructure in China once being systematically dismantled. such as virtual accounts delete and platforms shut down, University LGBTQ plus group censored. JC, one of my interview participants, and also the co-founder of Queer China UK, named this double bind. There was a lot of racism that happens to me and my friends, and I was also trying to process that difficult times. Nobody knows how this situation is. In response, people began gathering online, watching the films together, discussing their lives together in the room. Kinship was produced through this gathering. Week by week, when restrictions lifted, JC and QB hosted the first Chinese Queer Art Festival in London in 2021. These are the photos from the first Queer Chinese Art Festival 2021. The founding moments of what became the UK's largest Chinese queer organizations, Queer China UK, connecting hundreds of members across London. The second moment's concerns is the spatial and temporal precarity that structured this ecology. G is the founder of an active space living room, opened her own living rooms as a gathering space of Chinese women and non-binary individuals, where sexually, family conflicts and embodied experience could be spoken without translation. The community grew rapidly, but when G left London in 2024, activists were suspended. This is not failure. It is the ecological reality of community built on volunteer labor and contingent special exercise. Precarity is not an obstacle to this queer ecology. It is one of these constitutive conditions. When holds the ecology together, when holds the ecology together, despite this precarity, is with what Lucy, founder of 50 Shades of Feminism, called a dance wave. Everyone does a little bit of something. One person does little things. You are not necessarily a community as a single point, but when small activities accumulate, they become a dance wave. It is an ecological mode of community, the biological reality of interdependence. The third moment takes place in a forest. P, who is the founder of London Feminism Reading Group, joined me on the fungi walk. Had been relocating her feminism reading group to Park in 1 more month. She observed a consistent shift. I noticed that when reading club is hosting in the outdoor place, like in forest, in the park, or in the grass, people's interest in the reading itself drops a lot. In the outdoor sections, people discuss their own life, such as what food they have and the lovers, much more. This is a transcorporeal event when bodies are embodied in a sensuous environment. Grass, sunlight, bird songs, the smell of soil. The categorical distinctions that structures indoor intellectual life become permeable. The fungi work extends this future. Fungi from mycorrhiza networks connecting trees and plants in relations of mutual nourishment, a mode of kinship that's no anthropocentric. movement, anti-Asian racism was, sorry, 1 second. Moment, no hierarchical and no linear. For a community whose members have negated the severing of family ties, the foreclosure of queer space in China and the potential and the precarity of British migrants' life. The mycorrhiza networks is a counter ontology, a way of understanding connections that does not depend on blood, nationality, or fixed location. It directly challenged the Plumwood's logic of domination, the same logic that underlines both anti-queer state censorship and the ethnic nationalism that foreclosures queer Chinese life. These are photos I've taken from the fungi work. And what does it mean for a group of Chinese queer migrants look for fungi together in the aping forest? It means they are not inhabiting an ecology, they are constructing one. The construction makes two specific interventions. First, it racialized queer ecology. The field has not adequately addressed what happens when queerness is compounded by racial exclusion and diasporic displacement. This paper shows what it looks like. Second, it ecologizes migration. So a queer ecology builds not on roots, but on relations, not on permanence, but on the persistence. Politically change act of showing up. Thank you.